Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to American Journal. My name is Harrison Smith. Very big show we have for you today. Some great guests, some fantastic videos, some absolutely bonkers headlines. Let's get right into them as we begin, as we always do, with our Daily Dispatch. Here it is, folks. Your Daily Dispatch for Friday, July 30th, 2021. Gibraltar, Iceland see massive COVID spike despite over 90% of the population being vaccinated. Stats coming out of several countries show vaccinated people are spreading COVID-19 as evidence mounts that the vaccine is actually causing viral variants and infections, just as experts predicted. In Gibraltar, a peninsula in Spain, almost 99% of the population is fully vaccinated. That is according to information provided by Google. And yet, since June 1st, when 99% of the population was fully vaccinated, they've seen new COVID cases increase more than 2,500%. Truly incredible. Similar stats out of Iceland and even out of Israel. On Tuesday, it was reported by Israeli media that people who were already infected with COVID were 7 times less likely to be reinfected than those who were vaccinated, speaking to the power of natural immunity. We're also seeing this phenomenon in places like India, where a small portion of the population is vaccinated, but a much larger portion has immunity because of natural immunity from actually being introduced to the virus itself. And it's apparently much more effective. But don't let a little bit of facts and logic get in the way of your worldwide tyrannical lockdown, as Iceland's chief epidemiologist suggests COVID-19 restrictions could last up to 15 years. That's right. The doctor who serves as the chief epidemiologist of the Icelandic Directorate of Health was quizzed by a journalist on how long the rule should continue. And he asked if there is no clear way out of the epidemic now that measures are being proposed despite vaccinations, and whether we could be on the verge of restrictions over the next 5, 10, or 15 years. His response was in the affirmative. Of course, this article from Infowars.com goes on to note that many others, such as Communist Party members in the UK, say they want things like social distancing and mask mandates to last forever. 15 years, just 15 years to slow the spread. That is the new rallying cry. Biden, as I mentioned before, also wants national vaccine mandates, while ruling that all federal employees, as well as all active duty military and veterans health workers, will be mandated to take coronavirus vaccines. Joe Biden admitted he'd like to see the entire U.S. mandated to take the shots. We'll express to him what we think about that a little bit later in the program. But of course, for now, they're using private companies, private organizations to enforce the mandates they would like to see fulfilled, enforced at the barrel of a gun with the full force and weight of the federal government behind it. But the federal government itself is not being as capitulating as Joe Biden might like. Going postal, that's the headline from Infowars.com. American Postal Worker Union rejects Biden vaccine mandate after Joe Biden decreed Thursday that anyone working for the U.S. government will be forced to take the vaccine. The backlash began almost immediately with the American Postal Workers Union issuing a statement of defiance, saying, quote, while the APWU leadership continues to encourage postal workers to get voluntarily vaccinated, it is not the role of the federal government to mandate vaccines for the employees we represent. It says issues related to vaccinations and testing for COVID-19 in the workplace must be negotiated with the union. At this time, the union opposes the mandating of COVID-19 vaccines in relation to U.S. postal workers. I'll tell you, folks, with the U.S. Postal Worker Union standing up to Joe Biden and the Coal Miners Union standing up to BlackRock, I'm becoming a union man. I have to say, I am now awakening to the value of unions as they actually seemingly are fulfilling their purpose in certain ways instead of just acting as a consolidating power source for the nefarious. Fox and WAPO are actually demanding data from the CDC this time to back up their new guidance. Story from Post Millennial. New CDC guidelines states masks must be worn in indoor public settings in areas of substantial or high transmission, regardless of whether individuals are vaccinated or not, citing the possibility for vaccinated people to transmit the Delta variant of the coronavirus. According to their website, when the guidance was released on Tuesday, the CDC cited simply CDC COVID-19 Response Team Unpublished Data 2021. That was the citation for this decision, and now the Washington Post and Fox News is actually asking them to back up this tyrannical nonsense. Of course, we covered yesterday how the scientific study they based the mask mandate on was not peer-reviewed and was, in fact, outright rejected by the peer review process until the CDC needed it to be true, in which point it was revised and suddenly accepted into the peer review process because, again, science is whatever they say it is. Capitol cops are ordered to arrest staff and visitors who refuse to wear masks, but now they're backing down. U.S. Capitol Police backed down and said they would ask people in the House of Representatives not wearing a face covering to leave instead of arresting them, disobeying Lady Pelosi. The Ice Queen Pelosi wanted them to arrest anybody that dared disobey her completely unscientific and arbitrary orders. And Republicans called her bluff. We'll show you a video from Thomas Massie doing exactly that. As Thomas Massie taunts Pelosi, quote, arrest my entire staff. We are not wearing masks. And this became a big point of contention. Again, we'll show you some statements from Republicans as to how they feel being treated like, well, the rest of Americans are being treated. 1.6 billion disposable masks entered our oceans in 2020. Following the World Health Organization's formal declaration of the COVID-19 pandemic, governments around the world quickly mandated the use of face masks in public spaces. This led to a massive demand shock, prompting factories to begin producing disposable masks at full capacity. The majority of these masks were produced in China, and in April 2020, the country reported a staggering daily production of 450 million masks. In Ocean Asia's 2020 report, Masks on the Beach, researchers developed a formula to provide reasonable estimates for the number of disposable masks entering the environment. And suffice it to say, it's billions upon billions upon billions, and the plastics that these masks are made out of will degrade at about the same rate as a plastic bottle, meaning they are practically perpetual and are now littering our ocean. But don't worry, it's not climate change, so we don't have to do anything about it. Delta COVID-19 variant shed by vaccinated people spreads like chickenpox, CDC documents suggest. Most of these stories are from Infowars.com. You can find the articles there. The Delta COVID-19 strain spreads as easily as chickenpox, with fully vaccinated people also transmitting the virus, the Washington Post has reported, citing an internal document from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, expected to be published later on Friday. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Delta variant has a transmissibility almost as high as chickenpox. Chickenpox, which is, a variant of shingles, which itself is a side effect of the COVID vaccine. Is it all coming full circle, folks? I hope so. Again, we'll dig into this later in the program. From RT, porn for children. Journalist and daughter of former Tory MP tweets and then deletes this immodest proposal. After proposing the creation of entry-level porn for teens, British journalist Flora Gill deleted her tweets and then asked that they be forgotten. As the daughter of the former Tory MP Amber Rudd found out, Twitter isn't all that forgiving. Hear me out, Gill tweeted on Thursday, proposing that, quote, somebody needs to create porn for children. Teenagers are already watching pornography, she argued, but all they see are hardcore, aggressive videos. They give a terrible view of sex. What they need are entry-level porn, little beginner's porn. Just sick stuff. But the funniest part is that she then deletes it and then says things. I don't know if I can find her actual tweet in this one, but she's like, I think if someone tweets something and then deletes it, you shouldn't screenshot it and spread it around. That's not right. It's like, well, you shouldn't say ridiculous bullcrap, and then people won't want to screenshot it to mock you and make fun of you and point out how you represent a symptom of a degenerate and destructive culture that is now occupying the highest realms of our leadership in our country and countries around the Western world. Truly incredible. We'll finish up with a Daily Dispatch on the other side. Stay with us. Stories about this story's just crazy. We'll tease you with it. Clinton ally Dim mega donor found guilty of drugging 2 men to death. Another says he feeds on the energy of the victims. Yeah, literal pedophile vampires running our country. One of the best friends of Hillary Clinton. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this epic journey into the very heart of darkness as we delve once again into the lies, misinformation, and straight up gaslighting of the mainstream media. We continue through our daily dispatch here. Clinton ally Dim mega donor found guilty of drugging 2 men to death. Another says he feeds on energy of victim. Ed Buck, the Democrat mega donor who gave to both failed presidential candidate Hillary Clinton and President Barack Obama, was convicted of 9 felonies earlier this week relating to the deaths of 2 men in his apartment. Buck has donated over $500,000 to prominent Democrats and has hosted them over at his home and was very well intertwined with the Democrat upper echelon. The story at nationalfile.com. Prosecutors proved that Buck lured black men to his home for the purpose of drugging them heavily with methamphetamine and having sex with them. In some instances, the prosecutor notes, Buck injected victims with drugs intravenously in a practice known as slamming. The Department of Justice press release explains that Buck exerted power and control over his victims, typically targeting individuals who are destitute, homeless, or struggling with drug addiction. After luring them to his apartment with promises of money, drugs, and gay activity, Buck prepared syringes containing methamphetamine, sometimes personally injecting the victims with or without their consent. Buck also injected victims with more narcotics than they expected and sometimes injected victims while they were unconscious. As the victim was not interested in using drugs, Buck would withhold or reduce their pay. At least 2 men died while at Buck's apartment. I don't know. Sounds like a Democrat to me. We'll actually get more into this a little bit later. I'll let you finish your breakfast first before we get too much into this and just talk about the psychological mechanisms behind something like this. What would drive somebody to want to feel the power of killing people and feeding off of their energy? But remember, QAnon, totally fake. Totally fake. The elites do not suck the blood of their, the blood of innocence to gain their energy. I mean, they do sometimes. I mean, this guy got caught doing that, but it's still a conspiracy theory, obviously. Biden administration takes action against Cuban refugees in a 21-foot vessel trying to flee the communist hellhole, but all other fake refugees are welcome. The Biden administration this week announced the repatriation of more than 24 Cuban refugees fleeing their country's oppressive communist regime after they were caught attempting to navigate Florida waters. So in other words, the one place where we actually should be taking refugees from, we are not. No. If you want to go from the Congo and travel up through South America and wait till your wife gets pregnant and then take a bus to the Rio Grande, we'll open the door and welcome you in and put you right on a bus and ship you to Iowa. Why not? Those are refugees. Those are asylum seekers. Total bullcrap, right? Meanwhile, you have people fashioning together a raft made out of trash in order to brave the shark-infested waters of the Gulf of Mexico to get to Florida, and the Biden administration is just going to send them back to the regime that will likely imprison and possibly kill them for the attempt. Utterly brutal and inconsistent and nonsensical, and shows the lie of all that. And it's almost like they're doing it on purpose, right? They're like, yeah, we have to let in 200,000 random people from Haiti and the Congo and Brazil and wherever else they come from every month. Every month we are going to let 100,000, 200,000 of these people in. We're going to give them money. We're going to give them plane tickets. We're not even going to ask an ID or even give them a court date because they're refugees and asylum seekers. But if it's people literally fleeing for their lives from an actual repressive, destructive, oppressive communist government, we're going to send them back. It's like they're mocking us, right? It's like they're letting us know that everything that they say is bullcrap and they're going to do it anyway, and there's nothing we can do about it. They're mocking us when they do this sort of stuff. And likely committing these actual freedom fighters, people actually seeking asylum from a tyrannical government, sending them to their death. So there it is. MyPillow founder Mike Lindell pulls ads from Fox News after network refuses to run ads for his August symposium. That's right, Mike Lindell has pulled ads from Fox News, which is probably a very large blow to Fox News, considering that you see the MyPillow ad just about every break on Fox News. But hey, Mike Lindell just hooked up with InfoWars. Maybe we'll start running his ads. I don't know. I think that'd be pretty fun. I think that'd be pretty interesting. Mike Lindell's Sioux Falls, South Dakota Cyber Symposium is scheduled for August 10 through 12. You didn't have to pay me for that, Mike. I'll just advertise your symposium for free because we like you and we like what you do, and we want conservatives to get together at places like symposiums and strategize how we win this country back. So there you go, Mike. No need to pay for this endorsement. Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Cyber Symposium, August 10th through 12th. Sign up now. Finally, this Chuck Schumer says climate crisis will be worse than COVID unless Dems pass the infrastructure bill. That's a threat, folks. That's Chuck Schumer making a threat against you. Truly incredible. He recently claimed the Democrat infrastructure bill isn't passed, that climate change is going to be worse than COVID. That doesn't even make sense. What does an infrastructure bill have to do with climate change? Nothing. None of this has anything to do with climate change. Just like the mask mandates don't have anything to do with COVID. They don't help. They don't prevent transmission. It's about submission. It's about power. It's about control. It's about using whatever watchword activates the fear reaction in your brain that allows them to override your logic. Truly, truly incredible. We have actually a few more stories here. Breaking from Raw Alerts on Twitter, radioactive material missing en route to Michigan. NRC says the radioactive material source was iridium-192, was headed to Michigan from an Ohio company, but it never made it to its destination, according to a filing by the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission. This is the only mention of this on the internet that I've been able to find, but we're going to look into this and hopefully get some more information, as kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal, radioactive material going missing en route. Sounds like some sort of Mission Impossible plot has been playing out in Michigan. Who knows what nefarious actors now have their hands on that iridium-192. Finally, our last story. Texas Governor Abbott bans ground transportation of migrants to stop the spread of COVID at the border. To stop the spread of COVID. Okay. All right. Not the fact that this is an invasion going on, not the fact that there are millions upon millions of foreigners pouring into our country. That's not why we're stopping. No, we're going to stop them for COVID. Okay. All right. Whatever excuse you need to use, Greg, whatever excuse you need to put forward to mollify the yipping hyenas on the left, you could just enforce the law. You could just do what is right for your state and your country without concern of what the traitorous scumbags who hate us think about it. You could just do that. You could just stop the onslaught. You could just put a break in this flow because it's the law, because it's our country, because it's the border, and because you're the governor. But no, because of COVID. It's because of COVID-19 that we need to stop it. That's the solution. Okay. All right, folks. We're going to get into this a lot more, into all of these stories and more, show you some great videos and fantastic guests all ahead on American Journal. InfoWarsStore.com is where you go to support us. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.